This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Manitoba is trying to get the upper hand on the ongoing meth crisis. It's a complicated issue with no clear answer, but the Premier is hoping a new provincial policy will help combat it. It involves detaining highly intoxicated people longer. But while some agree, others say there needs to be more to the plan. CBC's Mike Arsenault has the story.
The Manitoba government's plan to extend the amount of time intoxicated people can be detained is being supported by the city. Mayor Scott Gillingham says the proposed legislation will give people struggling with addiction an opportunity to get clean.
By keeping people, detained longer, there's a better chance that they're safer and that we can get them the help they need.
Gillingham says the new legislation would help the city's first responders as well.
Our firefighters, our paramedics especially, and our police, are dealing with the same individuals over and over and over again on the street. It's hard on our emergency services staff as well, and so we need to make sure that these interventions ultimately will help them.
Premier Wab Kinew says intoxicated people can be held for a maximum of 24 hours under the current legislation, but the effects of meth last a long time. And the Intoxicated Person Detention Act was designed for people struggling with alcohol.
Police and partners that we work with, like Main Street Project, are limited with how long they can hold somebody under the current Intoxicated Persons Detention Act. So we're going to bring in legislation to give them more tools.
One addiction medicine specialist says this signals that the province is working to solve the meth problem. But extending stays is only one step towards solving a complex issue.
Detention alone is not something that would suffice, but detention with medical support or medical withdrawal. So whether that be directly within detention or connected into withdrawal treatment.
The Main Street Project currently operates the Intoxicated Persons Detention Area. In a statement to CBC, Executive Director Jamil Mahmood says he hopes the extended time will be used constructively and safely. That means providing enhanced medical oversight, opportunities for mental health assessment, and active connections to withdrawal management and long-term supports, not simply extending detention. We are optimistic that reviewing and updating the legislation can be a positive step forward. Kinew says he plans to introduce the new bill this fall when MLAs return to the House. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The public is being warned about dangerous drugs that were seized as part of a trafficking investigation. Fentanyl shaped into colorful designs like dinosaurs and butterflies, molded to look like candy. CBC's Justin Fiacconi has the latest.
Two people are facing drug trafficking charges after Winnipeg police seized 172 grams of fentanyl, some of which looked like candy. Now, police are saying they could be citywide. The fentanyl was pressed and molded into candy-like shapes, resembling dinosaurs, cactuses, and pineapples, which police say could look enticing to children and teens. Police say among the seizure, 5 grams of unprocessed fentanyl, which they say could create 5,000 doses once cut down for trafficking.
This is not the regular pill form. This is something unique that that hasn't been seen here.
A 39-year-old man and a 25-year-old woman are facing multiple drug trafficking, weapons, and firearms-related offenses after being arrested on Wednesday. Both were released on conditions. While these drugs were found in the West Broadway area, police are saying they could be citywide. Officers are asking people to be cautious of accepting any unpackaged candy. They're also asking anybody who comes across something similar not to touch it and to call 911. Justin Fiacconi, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba spilled a lot more red ink than it expected during the most recent fiscal year. The final numbers for the 2024-25 budget year came out today, and it puts the NDP government even further away from its goal of balancing the books. CBC's Bartlett Kivas reports.
Finance Minister Adrian Sala put on a brave face today as he unveiled a discouraging set of numbers.
Our economy remains a strong, diverse economy, and I think we're showing that there's a lot of hope and optimism in this province.
Hope and optimism aside, the provincial deficit for the most recent fiscal year ballooned 45% above the projection on Budget Day 2024. The deficit for the 12 months ending on March 31st was $1.15 billion. That's $353 million more than the deficit predicted in the 2024 budget. The biggest component of the deficit comes from the Families Department. It went 35% over its $2 billion budget, mostly because of a legal liability Salas says he can't talk about.
That pertains to contingent liabilities. And I can't speak about those anymore or any further than that, but I can say that those are unexpected liabilities.
The overall deficit would have been even higher if it wasn't for a settlement with tobacco companies, who paid billions to Canadian provinces to cover healthcare costs. The PC opposition accused the NDP of poor financial management.
We live in a sad state of affairs when the NDP are normalizing a $1 billion deficit as something to celebrate.
But there were some factors out of the government's control, such as a $63 million loss at Manitoba Hydro caused by dry weather. The 2025-26 budget is expected to be even more challenging, as it conveys the full effect of Donald Trump's tariffs on Canadian goods and hundreds of millions of dollars spent fighting the summer's wildfires. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Manitoba's opposition leader is taking Premier Wab Kinew to court for allegedly breaking an election law. PC leader Abhi Khan has filed an Election Financing Act complaint. It stems from Kinew's announcement on social media during the Spruce Woods by-election. In it, he said he would fix a road in Souris. Khan says that violates the act.
He knows he broke the law. It was very clear when he made the announcement that it was the Premier of Manitoba speaking to Manitobans on a new announcement during a blackout period, when the candidate for the NDP made that exact same announcement 2 days earlier, or promised 2 days earlier.
Khan has also filed a separate complaint with the Commissioner of Ethics. The PC candidate won the by-election by 70 votes. These accusations have not been tested in court. A Manitoba senior says she feels stripped of her independence after her driver's license was suspended. It all stems from her inability to do a breathalyzer test, a problem she blames on her health. Now she's taking her concerns to court. As the CBC's Santiago Arias Orozco reports, she's looking for change.
Sharon Hosko's car is her lifeline. Living in a small Manitoba town, she has to drive everywhere.
But when you can't even go out of your room, it's like you're in jail.
Getting groceries, going to doctor's appointments is all a struggle since her driver's license was suspended last year. Now she's fighting in court to get it back.
I'm getting angry just talking about it now, and it's been very depressing.
The 77-year-old was pulled over for speeding on a highway in November. RCMP asked her to give a breath sample into a machine. She tried 12 times but couldn't blow long enough for it to work.
So I got my license taken away because I can't breathe into it.
Police can suspend a driver's license if a person refuses or fails to give a breath sample without a valid reason. But Hosko says she had one. She says she has breathing problems because of her age and as a former smoker for over 3 decades. A respirologist say patients can struggle to blow enough air for some samples.
If they, for example, have a cough, or if they close up their throat, they may abruptly stop.
Hosko appealed her suspension with Manitoba Public Insurance. The Crown Corporation says that to get her license back, she has to install an ignition interlock device. MPI declined to comment on her case, but says they review all evidence, including medical issues.
Hosko has asked the courts to weigh in. Her lawyer says people handed a suspension under the Highway Traffic Act are not necessarily told about their right to counsel, like in Hosko's case.
Maybe that lawyer might have talked to her about the possibility of asking for a blood test if she was insisting that she was innocent and just couldn't blow.
Even if she gets her license back, Hosko wants a person's health to be carefully considered in cases like hers.
I'm already thinking, what if they stop me again and tell me to take a breathalyzer? Do I have to go through the whole thing again?
She is nervous about what will happen next. Her case is expected to be heard in October. Santiago Arias Orozco, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Time now to bring in weather specialist Riley Lachuk. And Riley, the sun was out again, but so was the wind today.
Oh yeah, very windy one, particularly in the west through the afternoon hours, Brittany. I want to show you some of our peak wind gusts through the day today. This is from midnight till now, and As always, when I show this disclaimer, this is from Environment Canada stations at the top of the clock. So there could be, and very well likely was, some stronger gusts between the hours, but this is just the readings from the top of the clock. So Dauphin, a gust of 78 kilometers an hour this afternoon, into the 60s for Brandon, 40s and 50s through the Southern Interlake and the Red River Valley, all because of an area of low pressure to the north that's brought some rain to northern Manitoba and a cold front that is passing through as we get through the evening hours here, sparking a few scattered showers, maybe even some thunderstorms as we get through the overnight hours into Saturday. Temperatures in Winnipeg this afternoon officially 23.9, 22s, 23s in the west. Overnight tonight, Brittany, getting down to a low of 11 in Winnipeg with that gusty wind sticking around. It's Friday, so we're talking fall suppers when I come back.
All right. Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Why proposed changes to Canada Post services could hit remote communities hard. More ahead. Stay with us. Big changes could be on the horizon at Canada Post, from ending home delivery to closing rural post offices. It's all a move to try to modernize the Crown Corporation that's bleeding money. But as CBC's Josh Crabb reports, not everyone is on board.
Leaders of remote communities and First Nations are speaking out after the federal government called for major service cuts to Canada Post. Changes, Ottawa says, are aimed at ensuring the survival of the Crown Corporation, which has lost billions of dollars in recent years. The union representing postal workers, which has been in negotiations with Canada Post on a new contract, responded to the reforms by going on strike.
They want to roll back a lot of services that Canadians depend on, and we're ensuring that they're held accountable for it.
Ottawa announced Thursday it will allow the Crown Corporation to end home delivery to the 4 million addresses that still get it. The government is also lifting a 1994 moratorium on closing rural post offices that applies to nearly 4,000 locations. And Ottawa says Canada Post can move non-urgent mail by ground instead of air. This isn't sitting well with Cheryl Matheson. She's the deputy mayor of Sheridan and president of the Northern Association of Community Councils, which represents 48 Northern Affairs communities in Manitoba.
We don't have home delivery. We do not have FedEx or Purelator or anyone. We only have Canada Post. So this could be very detrimental to our communities.
Matheson isn't alone. Harold Fleming is the mayor of Meadow Portage, which is home to around 80 people.
Definitely a bad move to eliminate mail in rural communities because there's just no other choice for us.
No one is saying which rural locations will close. A government official says the move is meant to reduce the number of postal outlets in overserved areas while keeping the ones in rural, remote, and Indigenous communities where they're needed. Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs Grand Chief Cairo Wilson worries any changes will disproportionately affect First Nations. Many rely heavily on Canada Post for deliveries, including medication.
There should never be a decrease in those services. There should not be a negative impact to the services that our isolated remote First Nations communities are currently receiving.
Canada Post has 45 days to give the federal government a cost-saving plan. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The cycling community is coming together this evening to honor a couple who were killed by an alleged impaired driver. Carrie Bonner and Igor Popov were hit after police say a man drove his pickup truck onto the shoulder of Kenniston Boulevard, fatally striking them. Police say a bicycle was found nearby. The cycling community is holding a riding vigil this evening and installing a ghost bike near where they were killed. Ghost bikes are painted white and left to honor those killed while riding their bicycles. The group wants to see the city prioritize cycling infrastructure. Well, having a baby is one of the most magical moments in a parent's life. But when it comes to giving birth, not everything always goes according to plan. At St. Boniface Hospital, staff are looking at solutions to help those moments go a little smoother. CBC toured the labor and delivery unit to hear the first-hand experience from one mom. Zubina Ahmed has more.
Kaylee Lachance is a new mom and a nurse at St. Boniface Hospital. She gave birth to a baby girl 6 months ago and says her experience felt like home.
One of the unique things about the rooms here is they all have an individual shower, and water was something that I was using for pain control at home. So when I came here, right away, that's where I went, was into the shower in my room.
She says the hospital follows the patient's birth plan if they have preferences and will give recommendations if it won't work.
It's a very collaborative process, and everyone is so kind and friendly and welcoming. And even if you know no one here, I would say an hour into your experience, you're going to find someone that you've really bonded with.
Dr. Debbie Robinson says one of St. Boniface's focus is to encourage a non-medicalized birth as much as possible.
We are trying very hard to adopt the mantra physiology before force and physiologic birth, so that we can offer this care to low-risk mums and even to the high-risk mums in the amount that it is safe to do so.
She says they also try their best to lower the fear of labor and the stress levels during delivery.
Many of our nurses are trained in a program called Spinning Babies, which again is about physiology, about moving the mum to help move the baby, allowing the mums to be mobile, making sure they're comfortable pain-wise, but not having them strapped into a bed.
Robinson says other innovations of the unit include a calm physical space design, rooms with features like natural light and optional birth tubs. They also offer antenatal home care program and breech baby deliveries. She says because of this, the rate of natural births is much higher than C-sections. Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
All right, Riley back in now. Riley, the ongoing saga of my jalapeno peppers.
Okay.
I am just waiting, hoping that this warmer afternoon weathers and the warmer overnights really that we're still having are gonna ripen them a little bit more and make them hot.
Okay.
Because the first one I tried, not so good.
Good news on the overnight temperature front. I mean, next couple nights may be slightly cooler, but we are actually looking at overnight temperatures in the 7-day forecast closer to where we should be for daytime highs for this time of the year. So staying very warm through the overnight hours. I know it feels summer-like somewhat out there, but we are into fall supper season. So here's another edition of our fall supper watch for the weekend. Many of them happening Saturday, Sunday across the province. We'll start with the east here. We've got a couple on Saturday in Eli and Mitchell, looking at sunshine, 22 to 24 degrees for those communities. And into Sunday, St. Leon, Starbuck, LaSalle, 26 to 28. These are close to record-breaking temperatures as we get through the later part of the weekend. So we're looking at introducing some warmth as we get through the next couple of days here. In the west, one happening on Saturday in Brandon, 25 degrees. Cowan, this is a special one to me because I've gone to this one many times, 27 degrees Sunday afternoon. Wawanesa, 29. That would be also close to a record breaker as we get through the weekend. So lots of great options this weekend and lots of great weather if you're thinking about maybe taking a trip or spending some time with your fellow community members over the weekend. All right, as we get through the evening, low pressure system sitting over northern Manitoba with this cold front draping down through the Red River Valley. This could bring a few scattered showers, maybe even a couple of stray rumbles of thunder as we get into the overnight hours, particularly southeastern Manitoba into northwestern Ontario into the evening hours tonight. For the north, though, we are looking at this low continuing to push eastward toward the Hudson Bay coast. This does spread quite a bit of rain into some communities as we get through into the morning hours on Saturday before it tapers off. Behind that, high pressure clearing out most of us across the province as we get through Saturday into Sunday, save for maybe a few stray clouds here and there as we get through Sunday into Monday, but certainly looking at a warm weekend ahead with winds that will start to die down as we get through the next day or so here, but we are looking at breezy conditions persisting really province-wide, which I'll get to in just a moment here. Looking at a general 10 to 15 millimeters for far northern Manitoba along the Hudson Bay coast, more like 5 to 10 for places like Thompson into Shamattawa. So certainly looking at some good rain coming for parts of northern Manitoba. Those winds will continue to be strong through parts of the Red River Valley and the Interlake as we get through into Saturday, looking at some gusts even up to 40 for the Interlake, for example, into the Red River Valley as we get through into the evening hours. We'll start to see that backing off, but still a bit breezy even as we get into the day on Sunday, into the day on Monday even. So temperatures through the afternoon, this is a snapshot around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. 23s for Brandon and Dauphin, 22 into Winnipeg, Thompson at 14 degrees. And quick look at your long range, Brittany, into Sunday, 25 degrees, 25 for Monday, and look at this, 26 degrees into Tuesday.
All right, thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Not a bad start to fall, and here are some of those beautiful fall colors as we head to break. More to come. Stay with us. 55,000 Canada Post workers are on strike across the country. Their union says the strike action is in response to the federal government's plan to reform the Crown Corporation. Aaron Collins has more on what it means for Canadians.
Canada's letter carriers walking a different route today, hitting picket lines to oppose the potential end of door-to-door mail. Workers upset with proposed changes to mail service in Canada.
This attack on postal workers and on the Canadian public system, postal system, is unjustifiable.
It's just another example of the Liberal government just refusing to agree with workers' rights.
We are sending a strong message to the government.
We know that Canadians will suffer, but sometimes you have to lose something to gain other things.
Changes to Canada Post endorsed by Ottawa earlier this week.
Canada Post is effectively insolvent. It provides an essential service to Canadians, and in particular to rural, remote, and Indigenous communities, and Canadians are rightfully attached to it and want it saved. However, repeated bailouts from the federal government are not the solution.
The Canada Post says the cuts are necessary to shore up its bottom line. The Crown Corporation losing nearly $1 billion last year.
Taxpayers are now funding the Postal Service to the tune of $1 billion a year, and Canadian taxpayers are now paying more and more for a service they're using less and less.
Less mail is being sent in Canada these days, just 2 billion pieces last year compared to 5.5 billion in 2006.
And I don't personally use it as often as maybe some other people.
Still, those who do get mail say they need it.
There's always going to be people who would prefer the physical aspect of mail.
And no mail service a big deal in Canada's rural communities too.
You can't just go to one of the other major operators and drop off packages. We don't have those offices in a lot of our communities, so a lot of people heavily rely on Canada Post.
Well, the union says essential mail like benefit checks will still be mailed out. Postal workers went on strike last year too, returning to work just before Christmas. It's unclear how long this strike could last, but with deliveries declining and costs on the rise, one thing is certain. The future of Canada Post just got a bit more complicated. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford says he plans to ban speed cameras across the province. He calls them a cash grab. Toronto has collected more than $30 million from fines so far this year. But a new study also suggests they make streets safer. Philip Lishanek has more.
In Toronto alone, the frustration with speed cameras has boiled over. Targeted dozens of times, people have even been caught on video chopping them down.
Because enough is enough.
Now Ontario Premier Doug Ford will be taking them all down in one fell swoop, with new legislation banning municipalities from using them.
This is nothing more than a tax grab. They need the money.
The city of Vaughan, north of Toronto, stopped using them after residents complained.
People who'd never gotten a speeding ticket in their entire driving lives being dinged with not one, not two, but in some cases 6, 7, 8 tickets.
But other mayors say they save lives.
Torontonians, especially kids and seniors and families, deserved to be safe. We know speed cameras work.
A large-scale study by Sick Kids Hospital and Toronto Metropolitan University found the cameras reduced incidents of speeding by 45%. Average speeds were reduced by 11 kilometers per hour. Cities like Windsor, Brampton, and London had planned to roll out more.
Is the Premier going to cover the cost of the broken contracts with the camera providers?
This municipal affairs expert says just like his attempt to remove Toronto bike lanes, Ford is overstepping.
The province seems to have a very big appetite for interfering, especially when the Premier thinks that such a move plays to a constituency that he wants to build on.
BC banned speed cameras in 2001, while Quebec, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba allow them. Alberta restricts the use of speed enforcement cameras only in school and construction zones. Ontario plans to allow municipalities a year to get rid of them, and it says it will establish a new fund for alternative traffic calming measures like speed bumps. Philip Lishanek, CBC News, Toronto.
Canada's gross domestic product grew 0.2% in July, its first increase in 4 months. But StatsCan doubts it represents an immediate trend. Mining and quarrying led the way, up 2.6%. Oil and gas rose 0.9%, manufacturing 0.7%. On the other side of the ledger, retail trade fell a full percentage point. Early estimates suggest little change for August. Mark Carney is in the UK, his 13th trip abroad since becoming Prime Minister. It's to drum up international trade and discuss security. CBC's Catherine Cullen explains how the two topics are connected. She's with the...
I'm grateful that the relationship is so strong because I'm now going to test the relationship.
A friendly joke between rivals on the women's rugby pitch, but allies on security and trade. Increasingly close allies if Mark Carney has his way.
Fantastic. After we win. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we build as an...
This is Carney's latest effort to beef up Canada's list of friends and trading partners at a summit for centre-left politicians.
I have to say, I don't think we've been in a time where the domestic impact of what's happening internationally has been as profound and as direct as it is at the moment.
On a panel of world leaders, Carney made his pitch for not focusing on pitfalls, but what allies can do together.
We have agency, but we have to build strength at home, find those like-minded partners, bring together. And in doing so, you give, well, we deliver for our citizens, but also it gives a confidence and a purpose to the country that is empowering.
While the talk is encouraging, there is also political pressure for Carney to show economic results. Though his conversations in London are not just about the economy.
We're partners in the Arctic with Australian technology.
But we're also countries that trust each other when it comes to security issues.
Senior officials say they're talking to allies about what more Canada can do to support Ukraine and how Canada can contribute to a peace process in the Middle East, too. In both cases, Carney has left the door open to participation by Canadian troops. That could test Canada's capacity.
The state of readiness for our armed forces to do much more than we're doing right now is really quite low.
Canadian officials suggest the trade and security conversations are linked and that allies might be more willing to open up their markets when Canada is doing its fair share on defense. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, London.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took to the podium at the United Nations General Assembly. He was highly critical against countries like Canada that are now recognizing a Palestinian state. Topping Netanyahu's accusations against them was this one.
Leaders who recognize a Palestinian state this week sent to the Palestinians, it's a very clear message. Murdering Jews pays off.
Netanyahu said they had caved in to what he called biased media, radical Islamists, and anti-Semitic mobs. Scores of delegates left the hall just before he began to speak. He faces an International Criminal Court arrest warrant for alleged war crimes in the current Gaza war. U.S. President Donald Trump has not finished going after his political enemies yet. The Justice Department has now filed charges against James Comey, the former director of the FBI. And as Anis Hadari reports, Trump also hinted more indictments are to come.
President Donald Trump has called the charges against James Comey Justice in America, with online posts condemning him repeatedly, and in person implying others could face charges, while reiterating his disdain for Comey, who has vocally criticized the president.
It's not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. These were corrupt, radical left Democrats. But Comey essentially was he was worse than a Democrat. I would say the Democrats are better than Comey. But no, there'll be others. Look, that's my opinion. They weaponized the Justice Department like nobody in history. What they've done is terrible. And so I hope there are others, because you can't let this happen to a country.
The charges against Comey come out of testimony at a Senate committee 5 years ago, where Comey denied telling FBI staffers they could leak information to the media. Trump's Justice Department now saying Comey was lying. The former head of the FBI defended himself on social media.
My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
The charges come just days after a federal prosecutor resigned, replaced by one of Trump's personal lawyers. Also days after Donald Trump posted online with a complaint Comey wasn't charged. The timing is a concern for some.
Where's the obstruction of justice? It's not there. And that's why the career people in my old office, the Eastern District of Virginia, the Rocket Docket, voted no. You can't do this. There is no crime. But President Trump is on a retribution tour.
These charges could intensify concerns Donald Trump's political enemies will face charges from federal justice officials. James Comey, heavily involved in that investigation years ago into Russian influence on the first Trump campaign. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Washington.
A court in London has thrown out the terrorism case against a member of the Irish rap group Kneecap. This was the scene outside court as supporters rallied around the performer known as Mo Cara. The judge said the 27-year-old was charged too late with a terrorism offense. Prosecutors had missed the deadline by a day. He was accused in May of waving a banned Hezbollah flag at a gig 6 months earlier. The group was banned from entering Canada by the federal government last week due to their, quote, open endorsement of terrorist organization. Shows scheduled in Toronto and Vancouver were both canceled. Coming up, we hear how the town of Souris will be cheering as one of its own goes for gold in the Women's Rugby World Cup. Stay with us. Time now for a check on weather with Riley. Riley, at the break, we were just talking about our love for rural towns in Manitoba. Absolutely. And across the country, you grew up rurally. My family, both parents grew up rurally. And there's so much cool things, so many cool things that happen in small towns.
This weekend, Scarecrow Day is happening in Souris. And one of the events that they're doing is zucchini racing.
I love it. I love this so much. I know,
doesn't it sound like a lot of fun? I have a forecast for that for you if you're taking the drive just outside of Brandon. Lots happening there this weekend. Barbecues, yard sales, the farmers markets. There's a car show happening on Sunday. And you know what? Couldn't ask for better weather for that event this weekend into Saturday. Yeah, maybe a little bit windy still. Southwest winds at about 30, but looking at a high of 25 degrees and sunshine and 29. Yes, this feels more like a summer weekend than a fall weekend. So hopefully that encourages you a little bit just to get outside if you can for some of the events happening across the province this weekend. All right, Feline Friday. This is Sasha hiding in the weeds there on the grass. Thank you, Linda, for sending this picture in. You can always send yours to talkback@cbc.ca. I look forward to seeing your pictures all the time. Looking at 22 degrees in Winnipeg tomorrow afternoon. That cold front, as it pushes through the overnight hours tonight, holding temperatures back slightly in eastern parts of the province as we get through Saturday, but temperatures very warm in the west, and I'll show you that coming up in your regional forecast here. So you can really see where that cold front sits across northern through central and southern Manitoba. Overnight temperatures on the eastern side of that, through the Interlake, for example, looking at 11 degrees in Gimli, 8 in Pinawa, 10 in Winnipeg. A chance the further east you go that maybe we run into a few rumbles of thunder, but a chance of showers nonetheless into northwestern Ontario. On the western side of that cold front, more like 4s and 5s through Roblin, 6 degrees in Swan River, 8 in Dauphin, looking at 6 in Brandon and Melita overnight with a mostly clear sky. Slight chance of maybe a couple of more showers through Flin Flon, the Pas, OCN, but more like 10 to 15 millimeters of rain as we get through the night tonight for places like Gillam into Shamattawa, looking at lows around 7 to 9 degrees, and those winds very gusty, looking at a west wind sustained at 35 for Barons River, for example. A few more showers yet to come as we get through the day on Saturday along the Hudson Bay coast into northeastern Manitoba. Maybe a couple of scattered showers through Lynn Lake and Flin Flon, high in Flin Flon at 17, 21 in the Pas and OCN. And into southern Manitoba, bright sunshine throughout the day, temperatures above seasonal for this time of the year. We start to get some warmth building back into the western side of the province, 25 in Brandon, 22 for Ericsdale, 21 into Gimli and Pinawa, 19s and 20s into northwestern Ontario. Mostly sunny skies into Sunday as well. Temperatures up to 28 degrees, Brittany, for Dauphin and Brandon. 25 into Winnipeg, still very decent for this time of the year.
Wow, thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
2 teams remain in contention for gold at the Rugby Women's World Cup, and one is Team Canada. CBC's Jamie Strachan has more.
6 minutes, everyone, 6.
For Canada's women's rugby team, it doesn't get any bigger than this.
This is a moment that we've been building and waiting for 3 years, so I think we're just excited that it's finally here.
Canada has earned a date with England in the World Cup final on Saturday, a home game for England with more than 80,000 people in the stands, the largest audience in women's rugby history.
We can't know exactly what it's going to be like until we're out there, but it's a balance between trying to focus on your routine and keeping things as normal as possible.
Can you believe it?
The Canadian side has dazzled during this tournament, finishing off 6-time champion New Zealand in the semi-final. Their head coach, dubbed the Magician, installing the perfect game plan.
This win will be amazing for their resume, for their life, for their souvenir. For the Canada, for sure.
Getting here has not been easy. Despite being ranked number 2 in the world, Canada is operating on a shoestring budget compared to other teams. Their head coach said about $3.5 million was required to be successful in this tournament. But with only about $2.5 million from Rugby Canada, the team had to fundraise the rest.
I think for us, it's a balance of using that narrative to fuel us and all the adversity that we've come through, the sacrifices that we've made that are just different than what other countries have had to make.
The bandwagon is filling quickly. The team was celebrated this week at Canada House in London, and many have made the trip for the final, including friends and family.
I'm super excited for the team. They're just great ambassadors for Canada. They're strong, classy, amazing women.
The only other time Canada made a World Cup final, 2014, where they lost to England. This time won't be any easier, as they face a #1 ranked team that has won 32 matches in a row. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, Emily Tatosi is the only Manitoban on the team. She grew up right here in Manitoba, in Souris. Brian Yon has followed Emily's career very closely. He coaches the Souris Sabres youth rugby and is a teacher at Souris School. That's where a watch party is taking place tomorrow morning. He spoke earlier with Marjorie Dowhouse.
Well, I think it's, to say the least, it's very exciting. I think the community is pumped up for the big game tomorrow, so as is the whole country. This team is, I think, taken, the Rugby World Cup by storm. And, everybody's really excited to watch the final tomorrow.
Now, you coached Emily when she was young, and you've watched her rise through the ranks. I mean, what has it been like for you to watch a student from your neck of the woods make it this far?
Yeah, it's been extremely rewarding to see a young lady from Souris, Manitoba, community of 2,000 people. Emily is, I think, the epitome of hard work and dedication. And, even when she was a student at Souris School, you could tell she was destined for something special. Her work ethic, in the classroom, outside the classroom, on the rugby pitch, no matter what it was, she always gave it 110%. And, to see the success that she's having right now is no surprise to me.
What is it about her rugby career that you find so inspiring that maybe others find so inspiring?
Well, I think the biggest thing is Emily's just a inspiration and a great role model for, for not just young women, but I think anybody who, has met Emily and come into contact with Emily. And, she's just a great person. She's a leader. When things need to get done, she gets it done. And so I think for her, as a rugby player, an international player, professional player, that's just taken her, I think, into the spotlight a bit more. But she hasn't changed. She's the same person as she was years ago in terms of how she carries herself as a consummate professional. And I think she's just truly an inspiration to a lot of people out there.
Is rugby big in Souris?
Well, it's kind of funny because when I started teaching in Souris back in 2002, I don't think anybody knew what a rugby ball was. But now, yeah, it's really big in our community. We've had a lot of success over the years, because of dedicated individuals like Emily who, helped put the game on the map. And we just had a Rugby Sevens Jamboree yesterday where our local team, our high school team, the Sabres, won all 3 games. So, she's definitely inspiring a next generation of young rugby players.
What do you think? I mean, the women making it to the World Cup final here, I mean, this is a huge deal. What do you think this means for the sport and for rugby in Canada?
Well, I think it's massive. The rugby has been a game that's, I would say in terms of its popularity has been maybe a little bit, lower on the rung on the ladder, so to speak. But the success that this team has had and, playing in a final, they're going to be playing in front of 82,000 people, which is unbelievable. I really think this World Cup has gained momentum and this Canadian squad, has really, really put rugby on the map. And I think you're seeing a lot of people right now that are going to be watching the game tomorrow that maybe don't know a whole lot about rugby, but are interested and keen to learn. And I think this team has just really inspired a nation, and we'll see, I think quite a bit of growth in the game in the next few years here.
If you had some advice for Emily, or if there's something that you could say to her right now, or maybe a message from the town of Souris, what would you say to Emily ahead of this big matchup against England?
Yeah, I would just tell her, enjoy the moment. To get to a final, let alone win a championship or have the chance to win one. Just enjoy the moment, embrace it, and to let her know that the entire community of Souris is behind her. And we're really excited about the big game tomorrow, and we'll be cheering hard for her.
So tell us a little bit more about the watch party. When is it happening? Where is it happening?
Yeah, so the watch party is taking place at Sur School tomorrow. Doors will open at 9:30, kickoffs at 10 o'clock. So we're going to put it up on the big screen, and we're hoping that we're going to have a really good turnout. I'm sure we will. And yeah, we're going to be cheering Canada and Emily on, and hopefully we can see a big upset over the #1 ranked English team.
Still ahead, it's a trek not many dare. Now a daredevil mountaineer is making Everest history. Plus, Riley's back with a last check on our forecast. Stay with us. Drivers heading to the Exchange District will now be able to park longer without having to refeed the meter. The city says beginning October 1st, on-street paid parking time limits will increase from 2 hours to 3 hours on select blocks. It includes streets around Red River College and the Centennial Concert Hall. The city says the initiative will run for a year to measure impacts on parking availability.
All right, couldn't go into the weekend without giving you a forecast for the Bombers game happening tomorrow afternoon. It's an afternoon game, 2 o'clock, the Tiger Cats in town, and we're looking at a pretty nice afternoon for some football in Winnipeg. 21 degrees around kickoff, getting up to a high of about 22 degrees in Winnipeg through the afternoon hours. Still a bit breezy at time. I mean, winds generally out of the west, 15 gusting to 30 by the afternoon, but there could be some gusts in there up to 40 or so as we get through the day tomorrow. 25 into Sunday, breezy as we get through Sunday once again. A bit of a break from that on Monday with a mix of sun and clouds. 25 degrees, 26 into Tuesday, a return of the wind by midweek, and then we start to get into a little bit of instability by the time we get to the end of next week with a slight chance of showers coming our way Thursday into the day on Friday. And I will just note as we get into the weekend here, I could use some new weather photos as we head into next week here. So if you've got some fall colors, you can send those to me to talkback@cbc.ca.
I'd love to see them.
To see your corner of the province as we head into fall. Well, an extreme athlete from Poland has become the first person to ski all the way down Mount Everest without supplementary oxygen.
Tonight's Daily Lift will take your breath away. Andre Bargiel clipped on his skis and took the plunge from the summit of 8,847 meters. He reached Camp 2 by nightfall and stopped for the night since safe navigation would be impossible.
Bargiel snapped his skis back on the next morning and then carved a path all the way down to the Everest base camp.
Now, he is the only athlete to ski without supplementary oxygen, as Riley said, from the summit of K2, the world's second highest mountain after Everest.
Incredible.
Wow.
What a view as well.
You know what? I'm petrified of heights. And so
You and me both.
I don't know, but that is stunning.
I imagine it's peaceful up there.
Probably.
Very peaceful, but cold.
Yes. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll
Have a
see you
good
back
one.
here.